It's like your
No, I'm a
Formula
Packers
One.
fan.
Every
Spread
week you
No.
different.
I was
Right?
there's
Yeah.
pictures
Race the
of
same
when I was
guys.
Yeah,
baby
NASCAR,
and
Formula
Brett Favre.
One.
This is an open meeting under section 19.81 to 19.98 of the Wisconsin State Statutes. You all have last month's meeting minutes. See any need for correction, guys? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve them.
Motion.
Motion by Kate, second by Ken. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Monthly staff reports.
You'll find that our program numbers are up from a year ago, fall of '21. At least where I was in Watertown, we were still recovering from COVID. At that time, cases were up. Recovery time was still 2 weeks back then. I'm sure that affected some numbers here in Hartford. And then you also see we have our park reservation form review in there as well. Reservations with fees are down from 21, but that's namely due to we're no longer counting Lincoln Athletic Field for this past year. If you subtract that out, we're pretty much even with where we were. But the number of people is up almost 5,000 from the previous year. So just a couple tidbits to point out on those reports.
Any questions on specifics for Randy? All right, any communication or correspondence come in?
None.
No appearances or public comments?
Nope.
No old business. Under new business administration, we have an introduction to be made.
We have filled the Aquatics Fitness Supervisor position. I'd like to welcome Zachary Stupnick as our new Aquatics Fitness Supervisor. Zach has worked for us the past 2 years as our outdoor pool manager. He is from Slinger. We won't hold that against him. And he's currently a student at UWM, so.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Excited for the future.
Excellent. We have gym space rental policy next on the agenda and an executive summary.
So just a quick review of that. November through April, our gym space is very limited during prime hours being weekday evenings and weekends, of course. And that's due to in-house programming and trying to ensure consistent times for our members to get gym space. That's always a comment the front desk hears is when can we get into the gymnasium? And also due to some of our community partners, such as the homeschool program and Special Olympics, they'll hold regular programming. We're one of the homeschooled Washington County-based, one of their home bases for their activities. We have mostly turned away club teams that want to rent a gym, knowing the importance of finding new and consistent revenue sources in the changing times. And we need gym space in our community needs gym space. It is at a premium here. So staff is recommending allowing half the gym to be rented when there are no programs in the gym. That's namely weekdays after school and also Wednesday and Friday nights. Staff recommends allowing club teams to rent 2 days of gym use per month, November through April, when reservations open up, with the ability to add two weeks after reservation seasons open. Now, there was a comment earlier about the cost of what we're renting the gym for. So that number is based on a club fee, which is a reduced fee. These are all nonprofit. And then that's based off of a 2-hour window is which we advertise. So for a club-based team for half the gym for 2 hours, I believe it's $34, $35. So that's how we came up with the number that appears in your executive summary. So again, just stressing that we know the importance of consistent revenue and finding that source. There's some days where drop-in fees we'll get $40, $50, $60 just on drop-in fees. But is that consistent? Not consistent enough where we're the reason why we're bringing this in front of you. So, thoughts, questions, concerns?
I would say the fee that you're charging is right where we are at the high school. We're at
Okay.
$35 an hour.
Okay.
For nonprofit, $70 for profit.
Yeah, and if someone wanted to rent the whole gymnasium, now, and we still offer that outside of open hours. So, for instance, on a weekend, the gymnasium's open 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. We'll accept any rentals after 4 p.m. It's just a matter of us being able to find a building supervisor. Sundays, after 4 p.m. as well. Again, Saturdays, the gym's mainly filled with programming. And then in the afternoon, we try to keep it available for members to utilize the gym. And even then, you come in there, there's a lot of people, you want to get some shooting around with your son or do a workout. There's a lot of people in there, and we try to limit the amount of 5-on-5 basketball that's going on. Certainly, we don't allow them to use the full court. We have them go to one of the side courts. Yeah.
So is there a 2-hour minimum?
With this, we would break it down. We would work with someone on that, just to utilize the space. If someone didn't want the full 2 hours, we certainly wouldn't charge them that.
And I wouldn't foresee this happening, but what if you had a bunch of club teams want to grab those, each club wanted to grab 2 days per month at the rates that we're charging?
And that's the idea. So we give them half. The idea is half the gym we'll rent out, and the other half is still available, again, for drop-in and for members. And we're limiting how many dates on the front end a club can rent out. So, the interested parties, again, basketball's a natural. Volleyball may want to do it. Soccer, we've been in communication with, and that's kind of what spurred this along, is soccer wanting to utilize our gym. I know they had been utilizing St. Killian's, but they were talking to us as a fallback situation.
I personally am just torn with this thing because of the possibility of having people walk in and literally be turned away because there's too many people in half the gym, and the other half of the gym is being used by one of these rentals. And that's not what the rec center was built for.
Yeah, and this is one of those decisions we've Sarah and myself, Lauren was involved with it too. Felt it important to bring it in front of this body because we weren't sure ourselves. Again, we wanted to make sure that we've been asked to find other revenue sources, and this is one avenue we could go. If you told me no, we'd rather not do this, or at minimum table it, let's discuss it some more. Not that you're worried about my feelings, but I would be in line with you.
Anyone?
Yeah, I had a couple questions, Randy.
Yeah.
So with regard to that, so you were saying that $35, Scott, that's what you said, that was your average. I mean, when's how long has that been the going rate? Either one of you can chime in on that one.
I can tell you, I just revamped ours
Okay.
2 years ago, and it's right along all the other gyms in our conference as well. I mean, the field house obviously is more because there's more room, and there's 2 courts in there.
Okay. Oh, so this isn't the field house you're talking
No,
about?
I was comparing it to like the gym so our small gym
Yeah,
would be
right, okay.
$35,
Okay.
half of that $17.50, so that's why I thought he was right in line where we're at.
Right, but you have 2 gyms, he has 1.
Right.
So his is a more precious commodity, and it's also open to the general public, which is to Todd's point.
Yeah, and to answer your question, I know it's been changed since I left,
Okay.
and that's, without Sarah being here, that's the best I can answer that. And me being being here longer than these two already, so.
Yeah, no, the reason why I asked that is just because, from my perspective, $17.50 an hour that's a steal. I mean, you get exclusive use of something on a weekend at $17.50 an hour. Like I have friends of mine that own roller rinks, and when you go private party, you pay, many X,
Sure.
than what it goes for during a public, but you have exclusivity, right? Which is a nice thing to have. So, and I'm not trying to,
No, I get
and I
it.
understand these are nonprofits, I guess, at the end of the day. Todd has a concern about members of the community and then people who are members, of the rec center, right, who go in there. But then, we also have to consider, and this is a tough one, right, because it's
is.
fixed overhead. So we want people to use it. I'm paying to heat it and cool it no matter what, and in this case, heat it, and that's gonna get very expensive this year, which is why I'm asking that. You have to really look at what your overhead is, this winter, what it's gonna cost to heat things. And, so you want people to use it, but, you also, man, that's a pretty good value. I mean, I would leave it up to, Sarah, everybody, you guys know how to run, your business. And in my opinion, you can try something and see how it goes and see what the blowback
Right.
might or
And
might
then-
not be. But that strikes me as a very good value.
Yeah, and then one comment on, as you brought up overhead, if they are going outside of hours, specifically on Saturday or Sunday, we tack on, I want to say it's at least a $10 minimum hourly fee. Actually, I think it's $12.15 to pay for staff to be there. So we have to have a building supervisor there. So that would get tacked onto that. That would cover that. But again, you're talking about utilities and rising costs of that, so.
Yeah, but you want people using it. I understand
Yep.
that. So, I mean, you just want to look at, because it's going to cost a lot to heat that building this year.
Yes.
I mean, like all of us are going to be paying for that, so.
Kate or Joe, you got anything to add?
Well, I mean, a lot of, like, you're talking about some of the overhead, I mean, the gym itself, I know it's on a program, and we're gonna heat it, and we're gonna cool it.
Yeah,
no
I
matter
said that,
what,
right? It's
to
fixed,
keep
no
that
question.
up, so, it's really the staffing of it, and I get it, I mean, I guess, I've done enough youth, sports and trying to find a facility for my kids to, especially this time of year, you're starting to kick in the indoor soccer, you need to get them practice, so on and so forth. And then in working at the rec on Saturdays and Sundays in the past, the mornings are busy, the afternoons, we could have this drop-in soccer and nobody show up.
Yep.
Sometimes these programs are hit and miss, like you said. I don't, it's a tough one to do. I say what you have to do is you kind of have to try it. My opinion would be to give it a shot, see what happens.
Yep.
Run it as we're gonna as a trial.
Yep.
And if it works, and keep records and keep tabs of it. And
of course.
building supervisors can say yes or no, or you've had people that's upset, or we got too full or something like that. And we have to look at it and then reevaluate
Yep.
it, and then maybe it's turning around and taking a couple of those hours that we were going to allow them to rent. We'll pull those back if we have to, or something to that effect. So I think you got to. I think you have to try it, but you do have to make sure to also that we are open for the public to come in and use it. So I think it's. I'm not against it. I just like to see how it works. Right? It could be the best thing. Or it could be the worst thing. We don't know until you do it.
I think staff would be right in line with your comments there, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Randy, is there a market for rentals during non-public hours? I mean, do you get requests for people for asking for, because that's where there could be, then you don't have to worry about the interference with anybody else, and you could charge a premium price. I mean, you'd want to recapture, and that's all fresh money then. I don't know how much of that you do. I know you mentioned that, when people stay after hours, but, Sundays, we close at 4 Sundays. And
Close
then
at
it goes,
4, yeah.
Well, and
I
I
don't
think
know
it's
if there's-
always open that if they want to rent it at 4:00, the answer is, well, we'll see if we can find a building supervisor
Yeah.
to come in, and then you pay for the supervisor. So now you're paying for the rental plus then the supervisor to be there. And then now you start talking about, switching your heating controls and stuff like that too, if you go too late. Because everything is on a timer.
It's okay,
to
just
cool
let
it
it go.
down.
Start
Let
cooling
it
down.
cool
They're doing stuff. I don't
Get
have
them out of there.
to have to change that at
Make
all.
the poor guys freeze.
To change that at
but
all?
I think those non-hours have always been open. It's just a matter of them coming up to us, and then before we can commit, they usually try to find somebody that could staff
Correct,
it to
yep.
commit it before they commit to the clubs.
Kate?
So the days and times that were selected, were those chosen because of lower attendance from the general public?
So one of the things that we haven't really talked is after school. We used to have the after-school program, got out of that business to not compete with Boys and Girls Club. Occasionally, we have programs that run. Of course, we'll block that off. We had volleyball. I don't know if that's finished up. But that's also a tough time for a parent volunteer coach to get there right after school. So that's a time. And then we also, we talked about Wednesday evenings and Friday evenings are the evenings that we don't have activities going on. Now, Friday, you talk about hit or miss. Now, Joe, I don't know if you've supervised on a Friday night. We can get, again, my example before, 20 to 40 people in the gym, or we might get 2. Mm-hmm. If you get that upwards of 40, that's better than renting half the gym out.
Yep.
But there's no guarantee there.
Yeah, and 2 is substantially worse.
Yeah.
Would you, do you think you'd be better off having dedicated days for full gym rentals? A certain number of dedicated full gym rental days and other dedicated days for open drop-in? Would that be a better solution than this?
That's,
or no?
That's a scenario that Sarah and I had talked about. I'm not sure if she had talked to you at all, Melanie, on this, just with your newness, sorry. But that is a scenario we talked about. And as we went back and forth, this is kind of what we came to. Now, and a lot of this, and I'll admit it, is when we have a new person coming to us looking for a membership, they're looking at how often can I get into the gymnasium. Now, how often does that person really utilize that? That's something else. But on the front end, for us to be able to say, you
Got half the gym on.
You got the gymnasium space available on these dates. So it's, I hate to say it, but it's more of I won't say ploy, but it's marketing for us to let them know. You take away Friday nights or that Wednesday, and that's one of the discussion points Sarah and I had. I'm not saying you're wrong by any means, because it might be more attractive to someone dropping in the whole gym's available. If you've been in the gym when we dropped the curtain, it does make it look small, especially if you get a handful of people in there.
Right.
Same thing for a rental. If you're in there, volleyball's okay. I don't know how soccer would feel about being in there, because when you're playing soccer and you're on that hard surface, that makes that area that much smaller because the ball's rolling that much faster, as opposed to being on the grass surface, where the ball doesn't roll as frequent and at high rates of speed. It can be a challenge for younger teams as well. So,
Well, I don't know if soccer would even want a half a gym.
yeah,
If it's just not big enough to practice some of those skills. I think a basketball club might, but I don't know if a soccer club would.
Certainly older levels, I completely agree with you, Scott. Maybe some of these U8 and under teams, they might find it beneficial, but is that a big enough market for us?
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
Despite all this, we have an executive summary in front of you. So, what's your pleasure?
I'm the motion to approve and run it as a trial. And, we reevaluate and do it that way. So I would motion to approve.
Motion by Joel.
I'll second that. I think I'd like to look back at it after the winter season's through. Because it kind of seems like the hours and dates may be geared towards winter.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe have to reevaluate. And there's always gym time, people looking for gym time during the spring, fall, and summer too.
Yeah, I mean, when we made it November to April. Once the season starts turning, which we all know that's sometimes tough here in Wisconsin. Sometimes the season doesn't turn till June. But then when we get to the summer months, our gym is more available. We're outside more with our activities. And, if volleyball has been a regular renter of us during the summer, and we've had the basketball club. So that's not an issue for us is that time of year. Yeah. But so what I have is a motion by Joe.
Second by Scott.
Second by Scott with the evaluation making sure we're evaluating at the end.
Yeah, do it.
And revisit this come fall.
Joel, you're good with the amendment or the addition with
Yes.
Scott with the review and all that?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on it? All right, all in favor of approval of staff's recommendations, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we have the 2023 winter, spring activity guide.
That's in your packets. We highlighted a couple things that were going to be in it last month. Just know that it's there for you. I'm sure most of you were aware that it was already out and probably had your own copies, whether it was hard or electronic already, but we are open for business.
All right, rec programs and activities, we have a winter fun day coming up.
Yep, so Winter Fun Day is next weekend, December 17th. We currently have 16 registered. It's going to be a bunch of games, crafts, activities. We do provide lunch, and then there's option to swim afterwards as well. So we will be a go with that 16. However, we do have space for more if anyone's interested.
All right, and then tell us about Tots Care Christmas.
So that is also on December 17th, just for that younger crowd, the younger kids. It's same time, 9 to 1. They will also be doing the crafts, games, activities. We'll provide lunch, a snack, and then both of these programs help kids, our parents get a chance to get out, either take a break from their kids, go shopping, do everything like that. We have 13 registered in Tots, so we also have some space in that, but a little bit more full.
And you're playing a little dodgeball right before Christmas.
So to kick off winter break, we have dodgeball that Friday night, the December 23rd. We have a 6 to 9-year-olds where we have 9 registered, and then the 10 to 14-year-olds, we only have 5. So we are looking for more spots to be filled, but I'm sure that'll come in the next coming weeks as we get closer.
All right, and anything special about supervised gyms during the holiday break?
It is a free time that kids can come in where that we will have a staff there to be able to supervise them in the gym. It is free for any ages 6 and up, and it's Monday through Friday of that week, kind of varying times each day.
And under adult and youth sports, we have the junior league basketball.
So practice started this last Saturday. We have 3 practices in December on Saturdays. January, we start practice on Thursdays and move to games on Saturdays. We have enough staff for 1 per team. However, we would like a few more, so if anyone knows, if anyone who's interested. But yeah, otherwise it went off to a great start. We had a really good first day of practice.
How many do we have registered?
I think it's full at 28, 26, 28.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
How about the youth and Pee Wee basketball?
So session 2 also started last Saturday, and both of those are full classes. One, youth basketball even has a waiting list. Also went really well. I was there to watch over it all day, so it went really well.
And the aforementioned drop-in soccer program.
So once again, started last Saturday for the first time. It's an hour in the afternoon. All ages can come. You know, we had a couple show up, but they can utilize the indoor spaces during the winter months, and it runs through March.
Okay. Under aquatics, we have nothing on vets, but we have some open swims at Signacast.
Yep, so during the holiday break, we're going to have 2 extra open swims on Monday the 26th and Wednesday the 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. And during those open swims, we're going to do our special price at $3 per person.
And no special activities with that, right? It's just the open swim.
Yep, no special activities, just the normal open swim.
All right, thank you, Zach. And under parks, we have an update on Centennial Park.
Centennial, got some notes here. We'll start with the bulkhead and dredging project. The dredging The Rotary Park Pond sediment is expected to be complete this Friday, so they're going to be finishing that up. Additional restoration activities will resume probably March, April, as they're shutting down for the season. The bulkhead wall is complete. We still need to do the kayak launch concrete panels. Those are scheduled to arrive later this week as well and should be installed next week. And then after the kayak launch is installed, they'll begin refilling the pond. So, yes. And then with that, Centennial Park access for pedestrians will be made available upon completion of the kayak launch. So they'll set up some barricades and warning signs will be left to warn pedestrians that they are still in a work zone, but, and of course some of it will be gravel path, so the loop will be open around the pond when they're done. So they'll have some equipment they're going to store there over the winter months. They will fence that off, and like the note said, they'll still have some barricades up warning people of different areas if they so choose to walk the path. On a side note, I did a program in Watertown, not really a program, but just advertised, and I envision doing this next year when the path is complete, guaranteeing that will be open within 24 to 48 hours after a snowfall to make sure that you have a consistent loop to walk. It's kind of a healthy mental health in getting outside. It's still important to get outside even during the cold months instead of working out inside, so it's something to look forward to next year with that. And then the Centennial Park Pavilion project, the contract was signed with Wandera Construction by the mayor today, so we are official with that. Wandera has been instructed to prepare a project schedule for us, so obviously they don't have that here for us today. They'll coordinate that with us city staff, and we'll be having a pre-construction meeting hopefully before the holidays here. The contractor is still evaluating alternatives for water and sanitary sewer. Cost evaluation of drilling under the railroad tracks or drilling along East Wisconsin Avenue to connect water and sewer near North Main Street is what they're looking at. The contractor is planning a late March, early April again start for construction on the pavilion project.
Anything to add, Brian?
Not on that.
Okay. We'll move on to the bathroom update.
Brian will update us on that.
Okay. So, at the beginning of this week, we were finishing up Indy, and the painters were out there on Monday, and I was able to catch one of the gentlemen in the morning. And right now, they're heating that space. When that space is done, they're going to finish their painting, then they're going to move over to Woodlawn. They should be there right now with the heat on overnight to start painting tomorrow. There's some miscellaneous concrete patching that has to be done in both of the restrooms, meaning Indy and Woodlawn. And I was told also that the lighting was back ordered along with the stalls, and they are due to be delivered sometime this week, which actually falls right into place because they have to drill into the concrete. I'm sure some of it is going to pop, and that'll give them a chance to do the repairs on it. So quite frankly, we're at the end of the spectrum. Everybody's on a nub to get the project done on time. Luckily, the milder weather's helped us out a little bit as far as heating it goes, because there's no insulation or block walls, and we want to paint the sticks. So I feel they've been doing a very good job, as best as they possibly can, to accomplish what they need to do in this period of time that we have. But the block work is actually all done now at Indy. It's completely done. So there's just some miscellaneous smalls, and I'm hoping by the end of the month we'll be able to walk through and do our final walkthrough with probably likely a punch list that'll likely have to get taken care of in the spring when weather changes. So.
Any questions for Brian?
Yes, I do. So obviously, we get part of that grants under the coverage of that. And the deal with that is that everything is gonna be billed by the end of the year, correct? So
Correct.
we'll have all the billings in by the end of the year then to pay up. And if there's anything that's left on the quote-unquote punch list, will that be handled outside of this deal, or
So-
how is that gonna work?
That would be no different than the warranty that goes along with all the other equipment. So that would just be, let's say a piece of paint popped on the wall or
right.
a scratch was put in. The majority of the work that we need to have done for the grant, we're going to meet that criteria along with the general contractor.
Be meeting out of the prior.
And the
Yeah,
punch list
yeah.
items, and quite frankly, they can wait because a few more things may generate over the winter with the freezing and thawing. So,
Well, I do have to compliment you on that, because this is something that I know we've been looking at earlier this year. Well, almost at the beginning of this year, and I kept saying, we gotta keep moving. And I'll be honest with you, I was kind of feeling a little doubtful after seeing things kind of go slow, and then we got a small window. Thank you for thank you, Mother Nature, for the weather to help us.
Yes.
That helped us greatly with the extension, but for you and the teams and the contractors getting that done, that's great. And I'm looking forward to being able to utilize some of those facilities, as well as I'm sure some of the other patrons next summer. So it's a great thing. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for pushing that
You're
one
welcome.
through.
Yep, right. Yep, in October, I had my doubts.
I did too.
All right, and then the Parks Project report.
Reports in your packet again, just a couple notes on that. We did lose our last 2 seasonal workers for the year. That, along with hunting and family trips, we were pretty consistently working with only 2 full-time staff. I know there was a handful of, not quite a handful of days, but some days where we only had 1 that was working. So that limits what gets done. At the beginning of the month, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, we were out working on the Indy ball fields. We were able to cut the lip on the east diamond, put the red material, bring the outfield in some places as much as over 10 feet. So that'll be a cost-saving measure in the future. And then we got new material out on the north and west diamonds as well. So that happened early in the month. Other activities we've been working on, leaf pickup and mulching. That's regular this time of year. We've had a few small snow and ice episodes, no full-blown snow removal, anything like that as of yet. And then burials have been up. Again, that's good news, bad news. Good news, that's more revenue for us, and the bad is obvious on that one. So, Brian, was there anything else you wanted to add to what we were doing?
No, just being short-staffed really put a cramp in some of the things that we were trying to accomplish, at least by this time in December. So on that note, we did do a lot of things that we could do with the single person, 2 people. We have to, we winterize and store our own vehicles, so we have to wash them, clean them inside and out. We stable them. Battery tenders, they have to get transported to another location, as is all our mowers too. We wash them, we wax them, we put them away good as we would want them in the spring. So it takes time, and that's where we've been the last month since we've had a meeting and we're able to report on anything. And I'm sure everybody's seen we lost another willow tree on West Park West, and so that's going to require some time. We do plan on doing both of the trees which are left from Willowbrook and also West Park as soon as it freezes enough to get our heavy loader onto the surface. So that could be a while, but it is on the target list and is going to consume a fair amount of time. And then we'll likely do the stumps, digging out and removing probably more towards the spring for chipping them out.
And then one last thing, we did utilize the gymnasium for checking out the liner for our ice rinks.
Yep.
So we'll be preparing for that. Hopefully by the end of the month, we have those at least installed, and if the seasons continue to go as they have, looking for, hopefully about a month to 6 weeks worth of nice ice, nice weather for that come January into February.
Any commission requests tonight? What's on your mind? If nothing, I'd look for motion to adjourn here.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Joel,
Second.
second by Scott. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Just